G'day, welcome back to the build series. We're making some progress. Going to be standing up some walls today, which is a big milestone for this build. Actually, hopefully make it look like a real caravan for a change. Got to get a few jobs done ahead of that though. So I need to put the composting toilet mount brackets in. You would have seen me working on that toilet last week. If you didn't, go back and check that one out. So just got to put the brackets on the floor of the shower and screw those down. Got to put the microwave in, fit that bracket in that's going to hold that in permanently so it handles a bit of corrugation later on. And then another big job before I start with the walls is getting the pumps, some power to the pumps, some water in the tanks, and pressure test everything, make sure the pumps work and all the lines don't leak, etc. back to the outlets. So that's pretty exciting as well. It's the first real mechanical thing that's going to work on the build. And then as part of that, I need to put in some pressure transducers. A bit of an afterthought, this one, but they're basically got to go into the lines at the base of the tank level. They measure a head of water pressure above the sensor, and you can calibrate them so you know how much water's in the tank. And that's compatible with my Victron Servo display units. I'll be able to see the tank levels on my display later on is the plan. They're the most reliable I've heard and most accurate as well set up. So I went with those, but yet afterthought, so redesign required. We'll get into that as well. Yeah, again, this has taken me about 25 takes to get this intro video done. So I'm going to call it there before I mess it up again. And we're going to jump into cracking on with the project. Cheers. Got these pressure transducers, they are. That's a 1/4 inch BSP thread that I've got to get into my water line underneath the van somewhere close to the bottom of the level of the tanks. So they just pick up water pressure, head of pressure above to give you a estimation of how full the tanks are, and you program these through the servo unit and the Victron gear, which I'll show you later on. You set it at 0 when there's no water in there, and then fill the tanks and set it at full, and it figures out based on how many litres you've punched in that it can hold what the tank level is. What it means I have to do is, that's the 1 inch outlet on my tank. I need to put that male nipple in, chuck on this T, and I've reduced it down twice to get to the size of that, and then I'll try and get this in out of the way somewhere where it's not going to get hit, hopefully. So I'll get that done today, and then next order of events after that, after I've got this all watertight, hopefully, is to fill the tanks actually and test out the pumps. Nothing like millimeter accuracy. So I put this horizontal, which is what it needs to be, and then this clears the shroud like by about 3 millimeters, which is pretty lucky, really. That's them both in, looking pretty good. I hope there's no leaks because it was a major pain in the backside getting all the pipes back in and looking neat. But yeah, I think it should be functional, which is good. Here goes nothing. Time to put some water in these tanks for the first time. So I've got this is a pressure fill point, bottom fill point for the tanks. I've untaped the gravity fed fill points. I had them taped up so they wouldn't get stuff in them during the construction. So I've got all those just loose now so that they'll breathe. And there's a risk here when you put town pressure into a tank that if you haven't got the breathers all open that you can explode the tank, which don't particularly want to do at this stage of the build. So yeah, got to go turn the tap on outside, come back in, let a bit of pressure in, and watch for leaks and see what happens. That's why it's worth checking these things. because this line was a little bit short. I realised, and it wasn't clicking into that fitting there, so it was just leaking out there. So I just got to make this line a bit longer, chuck it back in and test it out again. Unbelievably, no leaks on the 240 litre tanks at the fittings at the bottom anyway, where they're manifolded and where the pickup for the pumps comes out. That's all watertight. I've only put, I don't know, I'll let the tap run for about 2 minutes, whatever that works out to be in terms of litres, I'm not sure. So there's not a huge amount in there, but it would have been enough to get up above all the fitting heights. Once I've got a 280 litres in there, maybe the head of pressure will cause some leaks later, but I'm pretty confident it's looking okay. A bit concerned about this pump suction side. The pressure that got to there made that leak. It may have been stuff all pressure, I guess. When you've got the tanks vented and you're pumping water in from beneath, it's just going to find path of least resistance until it gets to a resistance point, I guess, like here, which will be very little pressure because it's open to atmosphere. It'll just then start filling the tanks. So hopefully that doesn't need a valve or something put in. Leave me a comment because I'm not really the world's best plumber. So yeah, let me know what you think about whether I need to valve that or something to stop pressure coming back up to the pump, because the manufacturer instructions do say no pressure at the suction side. Anyway, we'll get on with it. I'm just going to get the wires cut. They're going to run back to where the switch is here eventually, but I haven't got that set up. And then I'll just, as I showed earlier, I'm just going to hook it on this battery and get the pump running and see how all the taps and everything work. And then I've got to do the same for the 45 litre freshwater one, which is only a gravity fill system. I don't have a bottom fill for that, so that was, I didn't think 45 litres would take long to fill, so I will do that next. Okay, I just stripped back the wires that I've run to the pumps, just to open and expose the ends there. I don't know which one lines which actually, so I'm just going to try both of them and see what happens. And if it's the wrong one, we'll use the other one, I guess. Chose wisely. See water in the filter. Oh, just pulled the line off. Good one. Can't see any leaks. Let's wait and see if that pressurizes and switches off now. It should pressurize and switch off. Yes. Geez, we might have success. So that's pump flow. That would be okay, I think, for a shower. Not too bad. Yeah, I'm happy with that. How about this one? It's knocking a bit of air out of the lines, I think. Probably what it's got to do, work through the whole system. I'm not sure how charged that battery is either, in terms of whether that's not chucking out full amps to crank the pumps, but I reckon that's a successful trial. No leaks, pump works, got water everywhere, happy days. Some water into the gravity feed point for the small tank now, which will be a messy job, but we'll see how we go. Alrighty, there was no leaks in the underneath under the where the fittings are, but I didn't put much water in, so it's probably not a great test, but we'll just see if this pump can crank up and see what happens at the tap. There we go. Filter's wet. You can see through the filter housing now. Can't see any leaks. Wish I got one that had the tap you could just lock on. You got to hold this tap to fill it. I guess it's good for not wasting water, but all seems to be okay. Still no leaks down here. That is the flow. It's pretty slow. It'll take a while to fill a drink bottle. Job done. Just need to get the power to it, obviously, and that fan will work. Still thinking I might make that line a little bit longer. I think I mentioned that in the last episode. Looking good. On to the next thing. Time to get on with the microwave mount. All I'm going to use is a bit of angle through here for strength. It'll be set at the height of the frame here so that it's not in the way of the bed base when it goes on. But I'll just check it out and go in underneath here, and I'll probably fold this top piece that I cut away around like that and tech screw it in either side, and then tech screw it up from the bottom, and that'll give it enough strength. Then I've got this bit of flat bar that'll go through here. I'll cut that to length, drill some holes in that, drill some holes in these, and then put these threaded rods through the shelf and the bracket that's on the shelf, steel bracket. So drill a hole down through there, then I'll have nuts on the shelf, top and bottom, to hold the threaded rod there tight. There'll be a nut here to pull this bit of flat plate down on top of the microwave to hold it down onto the shelf, and then a nut either side of the angle up here to clamp it there as well. It should be pretty strong, I hope, enough to hold the microwave through corrugation. We'll see how that works out. okay, I think. In hindsight, probably should put this bracket the other way around. It's silly. Now I can't get to the bolts here when I've got the bed base on. I'll undo these ones and lift them up, and then the microwave can come out still without having to take that off anyway, so hopefully it never has to come out again. But yeah, it goes through that bracket there, holds that up on both sides, and then clamps down on top of the microwave so it can't move. Pretty strong, I think it's good. There she is, pretty much sitting in place. That was a bit of a mission getting it up there. Nearly snapped a corner. Could see it flexing, but it didn't, which is good. Realise there's a slight adjustment needed. It needs to come forward about 5 mil. It's not quite flush with the front, and it was really tight on that point there. And this isn't going down because it's hitting the back point here as well. So that mudguard, I knew the mudguards weren't perfect when I put them on. It was really hard to get level, parallel with the chassis, that is. And I knew I was going to be doing this, unfortunately. And difficult to spec it for the CNC to cut because it's a few mils out in one corner and it just puts things out a little bit. So I'm just going to trim that. I've got a little oscillating saw, which I just used to cut into the back of those to actually to get it to drop on properly, and it worked perfectly. That whole edge will be corked. Actually, the extrusion that goes around the hatch will go there and cover that edge pretty much completely, but it'll be corked, or I'm going to get some sort of trim to go around it, so I'm not too worried about this being not perfectly neat, but I should be able to get it fairly straight. I've just drawn a black line there. I'm just going to take that much out. I'd rather a bit bigger gap than too small, and then hopefully that drops down. So as you can see, it's not sitting on there. It's not quite touching there either. So if I cut this bit out, slide it forward, I think it'll drop down, and we'll be good to go. That was pretty unsuccessful, so I'm going to have to come up with a different approach. Dropped it on that corner. Lucky it didn't snap. That would have been a travesty, although there's going to be a bit of aluminium along that edge. It would have been hidden. I might just make up some horses and put them under the edge of the van, and just lift up one corner at a time, and then it'll be pretty close to where it needs to be, and then I can just drop it in. I think that's the best solution. I need to come up with a solution that's going to work for when I've got glue all over these surfaces, because I don't want to put it up there and then it drags down the wall. That would be a disaster. We'll try the horse method and see how that goes. That worked out well. Sawhorse is the way to go. It's an easy lift straight onto the spot. Won't get glue everywhere, hopefully. Someone please remind me to take all the plastic off before I go through that process, because I've forgotten before on the internal ones and made a huge mess. Yeah, so I've got to get the internal plastic sheet off last thing before it gets stood up. It's flush everywhere. It fitted really well. There's a bit of a gap along the top of that guard, but that's all going to be corked, so I'm not too worried about that. The the situation when I built the chassis with that bit of a hump in the middle, that slight banana shape of the chassis from the heat I applied where the suspension hangers and everything went on, is causing a little bit of a miss at the back. So it's all flush along here and up and over the guard, but then it drops away a bit at the back, which I've always known that back corner's low. So what I've got is like a 5 or 8 mil gap between the piece of flat bar I've got there for the wall to sit on and the wall itself. That edge along the bottom doesn't provide any strength. It's just foam on the underside of there, which you don't adhere to anyway. Really, that piece at the bottom is really just to sit the wall on while the glue's curing. The strength comes from the adhesion against the face at the rear, so behind there, against the chassis rail, the outside rail that I put on. So you can see it here. There's a piece of 50 mil, goes all the way through, obviously. So the adhesion comes here, and also it'll be glued off to the floor. So it's that face there that provides the strength, and then I'll put a bit of angle over the face of it as well and underneath to give it more strength, and it'll be fine. Not too worried about that at the back. It's exactly the same on both sides. The wall intersects the floor at the cutaway at the back, right on the same spot on either side. So I've got absolute parallel and straight, which is what I was hoping for. Yeah, so that intersection there. I'll also put in a piece of angle through there as well, aluminium glued to the wall and glued to the floor. That'll give that whole intersection even more strength. Looking good, get on with it. Just pulled them back off again, chuck them on the ground so I can go along and clean all the steel surfaces that the glue's going to adhere to with this VR10, and also the surface of the fibreglass where it's going to glue to as well. So I've pulled all the plastic off in all the contact points. I've left a bit on here, but it's not touching any of that. So the vertical just goes down there, and then all the floor joints, and then the horizontal one that comes through here. So I'll just give it loads of clean all that, vacuum it all and clean it, and do the same on the other side with this gear. We'll get this done, and then we should be up by the end of the day and curing overnight, hopefully. Here goes nothing, just about ready to put some glue on. So I've just got to get the cork gun set up with a sausage in it from some MS939 white compound. So get that ready, chuck it on. I've cleaned all the surfaces. I've propped that corner up over there. And yeah, all the plastic's off, all the walls are cleaned, all the metal surfaces are cleaned. Ready to chuck some glue on and give it a crack. Just picked up some more clamps. I've got a few extra clamps to pull things in where I need to. Hopefully this goes all right. That all went pretty well. She's all glued in. Just got to wait for the 939 to cure now, because I've used every single clamp I've got, so I can't go and do the other wall, unfortunately. But no, that all went pretty well. I had to clean up a bit of glue in there and over the back of the wall on the other side. A bit squirted out, which I just cleaned off with these wipes, which are amazing, by the way. Do the job really well. Just cleans it off in no time. All right, ready to stand up the next one. Just got all the glue on, all the surfaces, all the way up down there, all the way along the bottom, obviously, up there, side of the basin in the ensuite, on the floor. So it's all ready to roll. Just got to try and stand it up without making a mess, which is seldom achieved, but we'll give it a go. That wall went up okay as well. Didn't drop it, which is a great outcome because I drop things quite often. Everything's sort of tight and true, and I've got clamps in a few spots. Had to pull the clamp in at the top there with the ensuite wall where it meets the outside wall. Just had to pull that in a little bit, so I'm glad I bought those 1200 clamps, wide enough to get across the ensuite and pull that in. Yeah, but everything, it's sitting along the base where it needs to. It's pulled up against the bed frame where it's supposed to. And here I've got it clamped, but I packed that bed frame out a little bit just because I knew it was 5mm too small. I'd made it 5mm too small, so it wouldn't be too big. Turns out it worked out 5mm too small. So there's about 5mm of 939 in there now, but it'll hold that. It'll hold it, no worries. I'm going to put a bit of aluminium angle underneath it as well and glue it off to the wall to give it another additional strength piece before we're finished. Yeah, so what's next? Probably jump onto the front and back walls. A few obstacles in the way of the front one, so I'll probably do the back one today and get on to the front one tomorrow. But unfortunately, we've run out of time on the episode yet again, burning through these episodes. But hopefully in the next one, you'll see me chuck the pop top extrusion on the top. Hopefully the ceiling sheet goes in that as well. Front and back walls, obviously, I really want to be able to get through and get these windows in. They're pretty straightforward fit. Apparently, you just drop them in and screw them in from behind. There's no glue or anything required. All the hatches are what scares me. I need a real tilt and a good run at it next weekend. I've got another 4-day weekend ahead of me to try and get as much of that hatch work done as I can. So that's latches, miters all the way around for the extrusion, glue, hinges. Yeah. A lot of work in that. It's a bit daunting, but I'm running out of time on my deadline as well. But we'll see how we go. Can only have a crack, right? Also, there's the the aluminium profiles that go around the outside to give it strength and to hide gaps and things as well. So yeah, a bit in the next episode. So stay tuned. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. Subscriptions help me. Comments help me. Likes on my videos help me. So please do all that. And check me out on Insta too, perpetual.transient, if you want to have a look at what's coming up. It's where I sort of post what's happening in the next episode each week. Yeah, very good. Cheerio.